So I thought this was interesting because even if you get a physical copy, it's just a digital key at this point for Switch 2. That's kind of what the reality is for most of the game that's available on Nintendo Switch 2 at the moment. Because the thing with those little cartridges is it can't fit too much data. If they want to give freedom for the developers to make games that is bigger than what fits in a cartridge, you kind of have to go digital, and it'll just be a download key in the cartridge even if you buy physical copy, which didn't really sit well with most of the people. Because I don't know about you guys, but here in Australia we do like to buy physical and also trade them. You buy your either on JB Hi-Fi or EB Games, and especially if it's like a linear story or like a open world game or whatever that you eventually finish playing. You don't want to hang on to it after that. You get some of that money back by trading and putting it towards another game, or you can sell it off marketplace and get some of that money back. People like doing that if you're not a collector. You know, not everyone likes to collect all the games they play. That's still a thing here in Australia. So I'm not sure how much of that is relevant in other countries like US or UK. Yeah, still very much a thing alive and well here in Australia. I still do that. It doesn't really make sense if you're forced to just buy digital copies and don't have the option of getting physical. And even if you do get a physical, it's a download key, which also raises the question, if it's a download key, can you still trade it? If you sell it back, does that mean that other person can also access the game with the download key? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. Cyberpunk 2077, however, the whole game they managed to put in a cartridge instead of having to have a download key available. So which is pretty amazing for a game like Cyberpunk 2077. Although I've looked at the Switch 2 version, it didn't look that good on the Switch 2. It just looked like a PS3 version, PS4, early PS4 version of the game, really. The actual game looks much better in, current gen consoles or on PC, but the fact that they even managed to put this on a Switch 2 Switch console is pretty amazing. And managed to fit that into a 64 gigabyte version of the game. Just 64 gigabytes. I mean, we're living in a world right now where a game that has like, I don't know, 10 maps and just 10 small maps and just multiplayer and a small campaign. I'm talking about Call of Duty here. Takes up over 200 gigabytes of your space. 75% of Cyberpunk 2077 Nintendo Switch 2 sales were physical, which I'm not too surprised to hear, because people, if they're given the option to buy physical, they would always buy, especially for games like these where it's a story game where you can play and finish playing and then just sell it and then put that towards something else, right? So although Nintendo is trying to, not just Nintendo, even Sony, even Xbox, everyone's trying to force people to go fully digital right now. But people, given the option, they would choose. There are still a lot of players out there who would still go for physical. CD Projekt revealed the eye-catching stat in its latest financial results, confirming that not only did the action RPG benefit from positioning itself as one of Nintendo Switch 2's Day 1 launch games, but it also found success by making the game available as physical media. We believe that thanks to its high quality and Switch 2 exclusive enhancements, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition is well positioned to benefit from Switch 2's growing user base, said Mikhail Novakovsky, joint CEO. As of June, the vast majority of sales, which is around 70%, came from physical copies sold. That reflects the strength of our offering. Well, just over 75% on physical, and then 24.6% on digital. Doesn't really say how many copies sold. I'm not sure that's been revealed. I don't think Nintendo actually revealed that. Novakovsky believes this is in part because the entire game, along with its expansion, is fully contained on a 64 gigabyte cartridge, providing a plug and play experience which players find particularly attractive. No shit, Sherlock. And that has certainly proven to be the case. 75.4% of all Cyberpunk 2077 Switch 2 sales being physical. It comes as fans continue to debate the practice of publishers providing game key cards in Switch 2 box games instead of a physical cartridge. It's proven to be divisive practice among some users, not least because while it allows collectors to have a game's box on their shelf, they're essentially useless unless your console is connected to the internet. The practice is so controversial, however, that Nintendo has launched a survey designed to poll the Switch 2 user base on its thoughts surrounding digital and physical games, with questions designed to probe the reasons you might consider one option over the other. Nintendo's also interested in finding out if your attitude to digital downloads has shifted over time. I'm keen to see what they find out from that survey. I want to see the results of that, if they disclose that. Yeah, our developers truly made most of the console's features over new exclusive ways to play Cyberpunk 2077. We showcased them in a series of hands-on presentations attracting praise from the player community and gaming media. Although we clearly see that sales of the new console are currently dominated by Nintendo's first-party titles, we were very pleased with Cyberpunk being among the best-selling third-party games. I mean, the console doesn't have a lot of games. It had a lot of releases that and a back catalog for Switch 1. You can play Switch 1 games on Switch 2, which is, I mean, yeah, great. And they also re-released like Zelda games, Switch 2 edition at full price. Of course, they're going to sell because a lot of people who probably bought Switch 2 at launch are people who didn't have a Switch 1. For most people, as far as I know, who already owned a Switch, some of them, not all of them obviously, some of them probably didn't go for the Switch 2 straight away because it didn't have a lot of games at launch. It still doesn't. And the only reason, if I would go ahead right now and buy a Switch 2, which I won't yet, but if I was given the choice to buy, the only reason why I would do that is to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's it. Not Mario Kart World or whatever it was called, but Bonanza, I would buy a Switch 2 for that. But again, just for one game, realistically I wouldn't. But if I had a lot of money to spare, I would probably do it. So other than to play Nintendo exclusives, I don't think our Switch 2, something like a Switch, would be my primary console to play these games on, especially not something like Cyberpunk, even though it's been optimized for the console, which is great that players have that option. But I will leave Nintendo Switch exclusives for the Switch and play everything else on a PC or PlayStation or a console. That's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think. If you think I'm wrong, if you have a different take on this, I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know.